I had a scene from All About Eve, 1950s Best Picture, and so it was a two-hander between Eve and Karen. It was a young woman in the theatre industry who's kind of betrayed all her friends, and they were having a confrontation about it. It was quite a juicy scene. There's so many different moving parts to coming up with a narrative shoot. They all kind of blur into one big process where everything's happening all at once. I guess editing was actually the funnest thing, which I did not expect, because after I finally got all this effort and all this pre-production whirlwind, everything finally having to come together and me finding a narrative inside what I've shot was quite difficult, because once you shoot it, you've got to work with what you've got. And so finding the narrative inside the narrative was totally different to what I intended, but eventually came together. Coordinating a team, just with varying skill levels and ideas all at play in this tiny room, with limited time, with talent on set that I don't want to distract and I want to give good feedback to, and everybody's got to say while you're on set. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting balancing act. In a kind of cop-out answer, I think all three of those things they blend together. So having a better understanding of how pre will affect post, because when you're in the moment step by step, that's all you're focused on, and you can sometimes shoot yourself in the foot later on in the process. So knowing what to resolve before it turns into a bigger problem is kind of the greatest improvement I've noticed. I've been told a million times already, but sound is the most important. Sound is at least 51% of a project. So when you're sitting there and you've done your first edit and everything's fitting together perfectly, and you spend 8 hours on it, and then you have to do the sound and you realize you have to spend 30 hours on it, that was a learning curve. There's just some beautiful shots in there. I think being a two-hander and having some really good reactions in there, because it's not always about the person talking, obviously, but really capturing the second person in the scene and giving the actor room to breathe in the shot. Those were my favourite shots during the whole thing, because, again, very unexpected. You don't know what you're dealing with until you see it on camera and you go, that's gold. I covered both weeks, and so I did everything a few times except sound recordist, actually. Yeah, I did AC, AD, director. I did a lot of ADing. I did 3 ADing shoots. So. That's a tricky question. I try to find the best in everything. So, for example, first AD looks like the worst job on paper. It's actually really fun. You're allowed to go over to any station and say, hurry up, or come on, let's get the ball rolling, let's do this, and you're finding solutions across the board. So I quite enjoyed that. Getting into writing, actually writing a screenplay, because we've done a lot of theory on writing, and we've learned a few different techniques and tricks, but not really put anything into action yet. So trying to write a script from start to finish, that'll be quite an interesting challenge.